If Saturday is considered the main course in the SEC, consider this your pregame. Welcome on into the Overtime Drive. He's Dave Shumate. I'm Cole Thompson. Yes, college baseball is running rampant these days, and naturally, you want to see LSU or Arkansas claim the title. But before you do any of that, let's go ahead and talk some college football. Let's go talk some college baseball. Let's go through some early previews for this upcoming season. BK versus Arch Manning. Is that something that we need to be concerned about? ESPN dropped an article on their top 25 plays of college football, and Oklahoma, which is why they were on my mind, we're talking about their schedule and pathway to the postseason. But real quickly, make sure that you like the video, hit the ring notification, and always subscribe to the channel because we talk college football every single day. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials, link in the description. Follow Dave at Dave Shumate SEC, me at Mr. Cole Thompson, us at SEC Unfiltered, and check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. And as always, we're proudly fueled by our friends over at FANDUEL. Go to FANDUEL.com right now before first pitch happens tomorrow afternoon. Arizona, Coastal Carolina kicking things off. I want to go ahead and lay down some money. Using the promo code SECU, FANDUEL.com/SECU. Win $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. So if you think that the Hogs, you think that the Tigers, you think that somehow the Chanticleers are coming out of the woodwork to win themselves a title, go ahead and throw some money down, win yourself $250 in bonus bets. Signing up, joining the action today at FanDuel.com/SECU. Shooters, how the hell are you?
Barrett, two things. I can't believe we're actually to the point where it kind of seems real to start talking about some of these big games in the non-conference schedule. And then second of all, I think I know who you got in the championship, but you got to tell the audience who you got in the championship of the College World Series.
Yeah, I'm absolutely riding with LSU. LSU has been one of the kindest fan bases.
What do you think's the matchup?
Oh, I have LSU versus Oregon State. That's my.
I have Arkansas, Oregon State.
So we both have the SEC being represented. You have Arkansas winning, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we both have the SEC winning. Just the pathway is a little bit different. I have Arkansas versus LSU in a rematch. I think Arkansas gets revenge in that first game because I have them losing. I think you also have them losing, but you have them winning back-to-back games, don't you?
Correct.
Yeah, so we both have them losing to LSU in game one. I have just LSU coming out on top in game two. Dave has the season sweep in the return on the doubleheader that you're going to get. And we both, I think, have do you have Louisville or do you have Arizona?
I took the Wildcats.
So you took the Wildcats. So we have the winner of tomorrow's game playing against Oregon State for a shot at the national title. I have the Chanticleers. You have the Wildcats.
Yeah, no, I do. That's what I have coming out of there. We both went Oregon State.
I'm not. Are you really shocked at the way they're playing right now?
No. I mean, they should have lost that first game against Florida State, but yeah. I mean, they just tend to play well late in the year. I mean,
I'll tell you the one that I was the most shocked at, and we all, I think, picked it. UCLA that has not lost a game. I think every single one of us has them eliminated in the first round.
Oh, I think everybody has them.
I think every single one of us has them going 0-2.
They didn't really even televise their super regional against UTSA. I don't think a lot of people have seen them, myself included.
I've seen very bits and spurts of them. I didn't watch the 7-0 win that got them out of Los Angeles. I watched a little bit of the super regionals, the 4-3 win. Their pitching is great. Their offense knows how to hit with runners in scoring position. So that might be something that where Murray State's in a little bit of trouble. But also, I personally think that the riding high of Murray State right now is going to catapult them to a win tomorrow or on Saturday morning.
Yeah. No, I have UCLA beating Murray State.
So you do have UCLA beating Murray State. Okay, so the rest of us, me, Chris Harrison.
We're riding the racers, baby.
You're riding the race. I felt bad having them go 1-2, but then I'm also like, they weren't supposed to be here. They weren't supposed to make it out of the regional. They weren't supposed to beat Duke. They got Duke's coach to leave to go to Virginia. Like, they have done everything. Give them one win. Like, they have to walk out with at least one win. They can't go 0-2. It can't be like the Jamaican bobsled team that made it to the Olympics, and then as soon as they got there, finished in last place all across the board. Okay, we are already 4 minutes in, and we haven't talked any college football, but we both have the SEC bringing home another national title. It's not leaving in the world of college baseball, and naturally, we want it to come back to the world of college football. But everything starts with week one. And moving forward, Dave and I are going to break down some of the more signature marquee non-conference games. And we're starting off just in no particular order, But really the two bigger games that are going to kickstart Saturday afternoon. Texas and Ohio State, Florida State versus Alabama. Let's go ahead and talk about the game that is a rematch of last year's college football playoff semifinal in Arlington, where a lot of Ohio State fans still love to remind me that I am best known in Columbus for talking about cactus. And
cacti.
The cacti is going to not live in Arlington, but the trophy that ends up being claimed at the end of the year could be living in Austin. It all starts off with a big first impression. And to me, this is going to be a really interesting matchup for a lot of different reasons. Number one, it's just the Lee Corso final game. He put on Brutus back in 1996. Is he going to do it one more time to kind of do that full circle chapter moment on the book that was his legacy? The other thing is that there's just so many different players that are going to be implemented in this game that we're finally going to have a good idea of. Doesn't mean that we're going to know everything about them like Arch Manning or Julian saying, but now there's no longer speculating. Hey, what do they do well? What don't they do well? What can be the expectation and the goals? And then, of course, both these teams are very well primed with losing a ton of talent last year to still be a favorite to punch their ticket to the college football playoff. And the only thing that I really take away from this more so than anything else is seeding is going to be such an influential factor in this. A win in Columbus for Texas could allow them to maybe feel a little bit rocky in one of their matchups against Georgia or in the Swamp in Florida, but it doesn't take them out of getting a first-round bye. It doesn't take them out of going to Atlanta at the end of the year and winning the SEC. And the same thing for Ohio State. Like, if it ends up coming down to one of these two teams getting the 4 seed and the 5 seed,
Ohio State gets
winner
Penn
of this
State
game
at home. Yeah. Ohio State gets Penn State at home, which helps. No, I mean, the storylines in this game are a little interesting. Like, it's a lot of question marks for both teams. I mean, what's your favorite storyline in this one, Barrett? Going into it as you speak right now, when June 12th.
The quarterbacks, I think. I think it largely just due to the fact that a lot of people don't realize that Julian Sang was supposed to be at Alabama. He was supposed to be Nick Saban's next project. That was the guy that was next in line after the Jalen Milroe situation. Saban retires. He goes to Ohio State. A lot of people last year were saying, we have Will Howard. We have Will Howard, good quarterback. But what if Julian Sang is better? What if he just comes onto campus and is automatically?
He's got a higher upside for sure.
And so you win the national title and you're saying to yourself, okay, well, we still have the 2 wide receivers that got us here with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. Yeah, we lost Emeka Egbuka. That's going to be a big blow, but we still have 2 really solid wide receivers. We feel good about our running back room. James Peoples is here. You bring in CJ Donaldson from West Virginia. What if our quarterback is a better passer than what you saw last season from Will Howard? What if he's more sufficient as a playmaker inside the pocket? And
again, you add in too, you know, I mean, they may miss it, Egbuka. Which, dude, I was reading something earlier. It's wild. If they could have someone like Carnell Tate get drafted in this upcoming draft, then Jeremiah Smith in the next one, the streak would be like it's 6 straight years of a first-round guy.
It's not shocking to me, though.
And then Max Claret, the tight end from Purdue.
And that was the other thing is that he's going to be such a big impact, but also Brian Hartline being a former wide receivers coach that's now as the play caller, he's going to want to throw the football. So we're going to get a pretty good inclination about what is Julian saying and can he meet some of the lofty expectations in the Big Ten really early on. But the same thing goes for Arch Manning. Manning hasn't been the guy. Manning's been a quality player and a guy that you don't mind turning to, but it's been Quinn's team. It has. Whether or not you want to admit that, yes, you would have won with Arch Manning. Yes, you would have won with the more consistent wide receiver play. It was Quinn's team. Now it's not. Now it's Arch. It's his opportunity to truly silence anybody that says, oh, you know what? Overrated because of the last name. Or, hey, yes, we would have won a national championship if I was playing last year. And I think the big thing is that you're going to ask him to be a focal point for your roster because he's been in the system for 2+ seasons. He's going into year 3. He's learned everything that I think you need to know about playing quarterback from the X's and O's standpoint underneath A.J. Milwee and underneath Steve Sarkisian. But now it's putting it all together and putting it together against still a very solid defense in an environment that is going to emulate some of the places that you will play later on this year. Like, the Shoe is definitely, miles, one of the most hostile environments in college football.
I hate this game's at noon.
But the thing is, Dave, is that they're going to go eventually play down in the Swamp. Like, this is a litany test for you to understand, hey, the fans that you see out here, if Florida is really, really good in that matchup, best of luck to you with that environment. You're going to go play in Sanford Stadium, a place that Georgia just doesn't lose. They haven't lost a game since 2019 there. Like, that's how well Georgia is at Sanford. And the environment is such a critical element to their success. That's going to play a role for you. So it's, to me, the quarterback play just in general.
I think the underrated part is Matt Patricia. I think it's not talked about enough. That'll be an interesting, speaking of Arch Manning, it's going in his first real start is the face of the program going to get Matt Patricia since Bill Belichick didn't bring him over. So I think that's interesting. They lost a lot in their front seven, Ohio State, but Texas lost a lot up front. I mean, if I'm Matt Patricia and them, I'm attacking. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong. I'm loading the box and making you pass. I kind of want to see what goes on there. If I'm Ohio State, if I'm Matt Patricia and them, that's kind of – there's a lot of dynamics of all coordinator change here. You know, for Ohio State, for sure, 2 new coordinators after winning it all, too. I mean, I don't know. I'll be interested to see how Ohio State attacks Texas up front. I think I think both these teams will be pretty conservative.
I say
offensively, Hartline and Sarkisian. I mean, first-time starter for both. Field position will be massive in this game. I think this game will come down to who wins the field position battle. This will be a fun game. I wish this game obviously wasn't at noon, but no, I mean, other storylines, Bear. I mean, yeah, Hartline transitioning. I mean, I know he's a part of the game plan last year. What's Ohio State's kind of motivation? Remember, a lot of those guys came back last year to go win the entire national championship, win the whole thing, win the national championship. Well, what's the motivation of this? It's tough to bounce back. This year,
what were you saying on the storyline?
Motivation. Like, I think Texas has the most motivation heading into this because I think Texas is still like they're at the top of the college football world right now, but they're not at that echelon right now. They hadn't got over that hump to go play for that national title yet. But there's still some hunger in that program where Ohio State, I think naturally as human beings, you let off the gas after you have major success. You got to
there's doubt. I think there's that also that doubt that comes from fans on the outside because of how it happened last year. Like, there's people that look at the Cotton Bowl and say it was a 14-point win for Ohio State. And it was. It was absolutely a 14-point win. It wasn't a 14-point win to where Ohio State dog-walked Texas. Texas was down at the 3-yard line, about ready to try to punch it in before Steve Sarkisian had one of the most egregious play calls that we've seen in a while, and then a strip sack that led to a Jack Sawyer touchdown. Like, it wasn't the way that some people want to describe it. So there's people out there that are going to come into the season and say, we saw that last year, how Ohio State handled business. And I think the Texas fans, I think the Texas players, even the ones that are back, that were very essential to that team, Trey Wisner, you got Colin Simmons, you have Mookie Taft, you have Malik Muhammad, you have Trey Moore, you have multiple players on the offensive line. You know, you did lose 4 starters, but you still have them there. They understand, hey, we were right at the goal line. Like quite literally, we were at the goal line to have our opportunity to make it to a national championship. We're not going to allow people to dictate and say, we got run over. We got dog walked by Ohio State. We made it a game. We made it a 4-quarter battle. We fought back. We made it a resilient fight. That's what we're here to do. And it doesn't matter if we play in Austin. It doesn't matter if we play in Columbus. It doesn't matter if we play at a neutral site field. We want to prove to you that, yes, we were as good as a team as that roster last year, whether or not it's with a bunch of new players or not. Another underrated storyline to me is who is wide receiver 1 for Texas, because there are a lot of new faces in that secondary. Like, yeah, you have Jeremiah Smith. You have Caleb Downs back, and Caleb Downs, for my money, is a top 3 player in college football. Like, he's
the best defensive player in college football.
Not even remotely close. Is there a conversation to be had at this point? Now, going into the year, we'll talk about it later. But from a standpoint of what I'm getting, Caleb Downs, defensive player number 1. But they lost multiple starters in the secondary. Texas is breaking in multiple starters at the wide receiver position. So is there a sense of kind of continuity or a sense of, hey, this guy is taking the reins as top target inside this room, inside this wide receiver tandem? And who is that guy? Is Emmett Mosley already establishing himself as a really good slot option that can win at the middle of the field? Ryan Wingo, great speed. Last season, we heard a lot of positive things about him and Arch Manning working with the second team offense. What's he going to look like? Is Khalil Lockett coming on in? Is Jamie French coming on in? Is one of them going to be that next big guy? DeAndre Moore. Like, I think a lot of people forget that DeAndre Moore stepped up on so many different games in place of Isaiah Bond last season. And there's an opportunity for him to say, hey, I had those bad drops, but this is not who I am as a player. This is who I am as a player. And so I want to see one of them kind of take that role the way that I knew pretty quickly. Adonai Mitchell in Steve Sarkisian's offense, pretty special. Matthew Golden in Steve Sarkisian's offense, pretty special. Like a dude that you want to make sure that you are watching him with multiple Hawkeyes. Like the attention that Texas is going to have on Jeremiah Smith, you want to feel that way when you get to conference play in the SEC. We have that dude that's going to command an excellence.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Texas and I'm Steve Sarkisian, I come out aggressive offensive. If I truly believe in Arch Manning, like I think he kind of portrays in press conferences like Steve Sarkisian does, I think you come out aggressive. Because I think Matt Patricia and them are going to go stack the box and dare you. Because, again, to your point, Bear, I don't think anyone knows really. I mean, the upside, the overall ceiling, if all things are going well with a really talented room, there's no proven really commodity there. I think that's where Texas – I think Ohio State's going to trust their secondary, even with losing some guys. And I think they can maybe, hey, let's see what happens. I'll be interested, too, on really true design runs, not improvision type of plays. How often does Sark and them this early in the season – when you're when ultimately Texas's ultimate goal is to win the national title, you got to go play 16, 17 games. How many times do you really run him on design runs? I'll be interested to see.
So that. I'm glad that you brought up runs, because of one of my keys to victory for Texas is establishing a solid run game to take pressure off of Arch Manning. And it's not
including Arch.
And again, like that can include Arch. That absolutely can include Arch. But like, I don't want it to be the Arch has to play hero ball week one to where every single game it's going to feel like if 16 is not delivering, we have no shot against quality opponents. Like we go to Florida, we're going to lose that game because of Arch just isn't able to live up to expectations. We go to Stanford, Arch can't win the game. I want to have a secondary punch. And I think that last season we saw Trey Wisner truly prove when he did fumble the football. Really good, sturdy running back. But I still believe CJ Baxter has the higher upside and potential. I think that when he's at his best, that is your RB1. But the thing is that you remember about these teams last year, Dave, how many of them, when they got to the semifinals, had a good secondary tandem running back duo? Every single one. Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Prince, Travian Henderson and Quinshon Junkins, Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. Jaden Blue is your guy, but like at the same time, imagine if you're getting a better version of Jaden Blue with CJ Baxter. So I want them with a defensive line that's going to be breaking in a lot of young players, a lot of guys who are probably rotational options last year, or some most of their action in the fourth quarter of blowouts. Go ahead and pile it down their throat. Kind of test that defensive front for Matt Patricia. See what you got with Sonny Styles coming on back in. Can he handle the pressure of being the enforcer at that second level of the defense? Because if you can establish the run and be so coexistent on an offense, and then eventually you can get Arch designed in those run plays, I think that gives Texas such an advantage on so many different elements.
Yeah, I'm coming out throwing, dude. If I'm Texas, if I believe in my guys. Barry, here's a question for you. Do you think this is the worst wide receiver? This will be the worst wide receiver room they've had in the last 3 years.
Texas?
Going back to the 23 season. 23
it's the most unproven to where I have the most questions. Let's just go with it. I still have questions when it comes to the freshmen. I have questions when it comes to Ryan Wingo and what his role is. Can DeAndre Moore limit the drops on critical situations? Because I'm still not over that Florida touchdown that should have been in, but he dropped it like just right in the breadbasket. Mississippi State game as well. He had one that was really, really bad. Like I'm not like I still have that in my mind. I didn't have those questions with the other wide receiver rooms. But if you told me that one of them kind of broke out and took advantages, I could see it.
Bear, what do you think is the key to the game in this?
Well, running the football for me for Texas offense.
I was thinking you were going to go back to that.
That's one. I think the other one is creating turnovers on Julian Saying, because this is going to be his first real start. It's going to be his first real test. And whether or not Texas lost Jahdae Barron and whether or not they lost some guys to the defensive line, they still have Mookie Tapp, who was probably a top 5 safety last year in college football. The numbers back it up. His on-field play backed it up. His execution backed it up. I think Malik Muhammad can absolutely take on over as a cornerback one. But the name that I'm paying the most attention to is Jalen Gilbo. He played the nickel position last year. What if they feel so comfortable with their nickel position or their star role that they say, we have to turn you into Jay Barron, and we got to play you on the outside. And we know that you can win your one-on-ones. We know that you can hold your own against some very shifty wide receivers. Can you just force an incompletion against Carnell Tate, the big kid from Chicago? Can you have that type of one-on-one matchup? And then if you can force 2 or 3 turnovers in this game, whether it be interceptions or forced fumbles on the ground with the pass rushing from Colin Simmons, with Trey Moore, that's going to be, I think, critical. You want Julian Saying to realize that Texas is a team you're not going to mess around with. You have got to be precise, on point, direct, and you cannot second guess yourself. If they can force him to second guess himself, I think Texas can go on in. And it's not going to be the exact same outcome as we saw with the Michigan game last year, but I think that they can be the one to control the tempo. They can be the one to set the tone, and they can be the one to really allow themselves to kind of pull away and then, hey, we'll have some fun with this. Let's see what you can do now.
Yeah, I mean, what's probably the biggest advantage on the trenches going into this game? Probably what the interior of Ohio State's offensive line against Texas's going into the matchup.
I mean, I would go Ohio State's interior offensive line is better than Texas's interior offensive line. But I would go.
No, I'm saying the two matchups that play each other, like going against each other. I think the biggest mismatch, in my opinion, is probably Ohio State's interior offensive line going against Texas's first game after losing so much on the defensive line on the interior too.
Sure. But I also think that you having 2 future NFL wide receivers and first-round talents is a massive advantage for you, just no matter who you have in the backfield.
You're talking about it for Ohio State?
Ohio State. I think that's the bigger advantage right there.
Yeah, I mean, overall ability, just the unknown. If I can at least kind of know what I'm getting in Texas's secondary, I don't know what I'm going to get on the interior of Texas's defensive line.
I don't know what I'm going to get.
That's the point.
I mean, I know what I'm going to get from Caleb Downs. I don't know what I'm going to get from Ohio State's secondary, especially at the cornerback position, which, again, this is one where I feel like that maybe you could see a win for Ryan Wingo to break.
I like Davison Igbeneusen. He's a good player.
He's back for another year, which is really good. And he was a good quarterback too. But they are missing 3. They lost 3 starters. So
yeah, I mean, this is a game where both teams have holes. I mean, who do you think needs it the most here, Bear? In terms of going to the, let's just say the conference championship, Ohio State needs it more because I actually do believe this year in Penn State. Like, I had Penn State as my number 1 team going into the conference championship. I mean, I know you know this, but this doesn't even count in the standings.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, it's just
it wouldn't shock me if Ohio State made the Big Ten title game but lost this game.
No, it wouldn't shock me either. But also, I could see that I think that they're going to lose 2 games in conference. So now you're 9-3. That's my theory.
I mean, look, I know we're an SEC channel, but I'm going to put just
their schedule is they still have to face off against Washington on the road.
Pulling it out.
They have to face. They got to go to Seattle. They got to play against Penn State. They have the Michigan game. They have the Texas game. They have Illinois, I believe, is on their
Texas, Grambling, Ohio, at Washington, Minnesota at home, at Illinois, at Wisconsin, Penn State at home, at Purdue, UCLA at home, Rutgers at home, at Michigan.
So again, I can point out 4 games to where in conference play, it wouldn't shock me if they dropped it. Doesn't mean that they're going to drop all of them, but it wouldn't shock me if they dropped one of them.
I would go Illinois, Penn State, Michigan.
I think at Washington. I think I'm very high on Damon Williams. I like Damon Williams a lot. So if you feel the way that I feel about,
man, I don't hate that pick, but that's the next one. I would agree with you. You maybe do another one.
But like, you're telling me that let's just say they go 10-2, but they have 2 conference losses. Well, then it's just Tennessee 2.0 all over again. Now they're just wondering, where am I going in round 1? Or am I hosting in round 1?
No, they're 10-2. They're in.
Yeah. So, like, that's where I'm at when it comes to they need this win, because if they didn't, they'd go 9-3, and they'd have a really good case at 9-3, depending on who their wins were over. But for Texas, I don't see Texas dropping more than 2 games this year. And if they were to drop this one, I still think that they could run the show against Florida. I think that they would still be Texas A&M as of right now. I still think that they would be Kentucky. They'd beat Vanderbilt. Their schedule at home is very manageable this season. And then their road schedule isn't that challenging either. The only one I would worry about is the Georgia game and then maybe the Florida matchup.
No, I'm with you, man. I mean, if Texas wins this game, I'm with you. I hate saying this with 11 games left and 12, 13 weeks left in total, but I mean, if all you told me was Texas beat Ohio State to open up the year, I'm like, oh, they made the playoffs. Like, I mean, I have a hard time because I'm with you. You look at the schedule, it's like, I mean, let's be honest. You get a very favorable SEC schedule if you play Kentucky, Mississippi State. No offense to Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia, that I think they'll still be like a 6-win team, but still add them. And then Arkansas this year. Those are 4. It's half of your league games. Those guys. That's a pretty beneficial schedule. I'm with you, Baron. At that point, they have to lose 3. I was like, I don't see.
I don't see them losing 3.
You win this game at Ohio State. You're right. Like Texas, again, you don't ever injuries.
That's the other thing too, is that
they're really good.
But if they win it in the shoe, it's a little bit of a different field too.
Is this going to have a field of Texas going into Ann Arbor last year? Or you think it's going to have a little bit more of a challenge than that?
No, it's going to be a challenge. It's still Ohio State. And Ohio State, for my money, is 2 of the top 3 players in college football return.
Yeah, I'm not saying it. I'm asking for conversation's sake. No, I agree. That Michigan game, Texas could have beat them a lot worse if they really wanted to go out there and do it. Yeah, this game, both these teams have question marks across the board. But I do think it would be a little bit more meaningful for Texas. I'm like, man, I'm with you, Bear. With that schedule, I don't see them losing 3 out of the last 11.
What's your early feel right now with this game? If you had to pick a winner today, without knowing much more, without going in back and watching some film or getting some spring intel, who do you think wins? Don't need a score, just who do you think wins?
Well, before I make this, I'm pulling up. I'm going to our buddies over at FanDuel, plugging them again, getting the old early line to 3.5. Ohio State favored by 3.5. I can't see that.
It's a coin flip with a slight advantage to Ohio State because
I can't see that getting under 3. But no, early feel there. I like Texas in this early feel right now as we sit here in June. Like if they were playing on Saturday, I would go Texas. I believe in them a little bit more. I just always worry about teams, especially in today's era, bouncing back after winning a national title. And having that same hunger. I'm sure Texas, again, doesn't mean the most motivated team always wins. That doesn't mean anything. It's just kind of sitting here. But it's an interesting game. I mean, it really is. It's kind of a tone setter with a lot of question marks. But I'd lean Texas in a really close one. I'm with you. I asked you about, is this like Michigan or Texas going into the big house last year? No. I have more confidence that Ohio State will win this game way more than I had in Michigan. That was one of my guarantees last year.
Yeah, like if you told me that this was a 4-quarter battle and then Texas finds its way into the end zone with Arch Manning, I could see it. Like, I think this is going to be a touchdown win for whoever does come out on top. It's not going to be a double victory. You're not going to see all of these beat downs that they will eventually see. And my opinion of either team is not going to change because of the outcome of this game. Like, I still will believe that Ohio State can go to the college football playoff.
Yeah,
I still will believe Texas will go to the college football playoff. I just think that Texas right now, the fact that Arch has even played a little bit, the fact that you do have some very solid returning production defensively, just like Ohio State, and the fact that I like their run game just a little bit more. And I know
any Ohio State people listening, I'd like to hear yours. I was reading today a little bit that it's not officially over, but people lead Julian saying they have the Lincoln Keenholz.
Yeah, Keenholz is still technically in the running. So, but like, it won't shock me at the end of the year if Arch is like 3rd in passing in the SEC and Julian saying leads the country in passing. Like, it's one game. My entire opinion's not going to change, but just simply based off of what I see right now, Texas over Ohio State. And it's a touchdown or less. Like, it's no more.
Very close game. Very close game. Coin flip. I'm with you. I just lean Texas a little bit right now over just a little bit of experience. And Bear, we forget about this. I brought it up. Coordinator continuity.
Yeah. That's the other thing.
Game 1.
You're forgetting about that. It's not just losing Chip Kelly. It's losing Jim Knowles, one of the best defensive minds, to a rival, and then hiring Matt Patricia. That a lot of people, not just me, a lot of people had questions about. But the line is set at 3.5. The win totals are both at 9.5 or higher for Texas and Ohio State. And if you want to go ahead and hit on those line totals, go visit our friends over at FanDuel.com. FanDuel Sportsbook is here to help you make every moment count. The app is safe, secure, super easy to use. And if you already have an account, well, FanDuel Sportsbook offers great promotions on every day to all users, whether it be profit boost tokens, new features like a parlay hub, build your own same-game parlay, or choose from one of our popular SGPs already built for you in the same-game parlay. And if you haven't signed up, now's the perfect time. Go visit FANDUEL.com/SECU. Join in the action today, whether it be betting on the NBA Finals, the College World Series, the Stanley Cup Finals, or just a regular baseball game on a Saturday afternoon. Stop wasting your time. Go visit FANDUEL.com/SECU. Get in the action with offers you don't want to miss. Disclaimer: must be 21 and present in select states or 18 plus in DC. First online real wager money only. $5 first deposit is required. Bonus issues with non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel. FanDuel is offering online gambling sports wagering in Kansas under the agreement of the Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelpline.maorg. In Maryland, Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Dave, let's move over to the other game that is going to be going on Saturday afternoon in the SEC. Florida State and Alabama, two teams that really need to hit their stride pretty early on in the year for multiple different reasons. For Florida State, Mike Norvell needs to save his job. And he needs to make sure that the right coordinators that he hired are going to help him elevate the status of the offense and defense. For Alabama, you couldn't have ended the season on a more depressing note. Losing to a Michigan team that was filled of backups, not even full-time starters, and your team underachieving on all three stages of the game to lose the ReliaQuest Bowl. On top of that, you went 9-4. You missed the college football playoff, not by losing to good teams, by losing to a 6-6 Oklahoma, to a 6-6 Vanderbilt on the road. That's inexcusable. That's where I think a lot of people are going to kind of turn their back on you. But there are some very interesting storylines in this matchup going into Doak Campbell Stadium.
No, I'm fired up about this one. First, I'm fired up. This is on campus. This is fun. For week one, it's going to be hot as hell at Doak. Man, this is going to be an underrated matchup here. And I ask you, Baron, I think some people think this will be crazy, but if you really get past surface level of thinking, I mean, who is this game more important for, Mike Norvell or Kalen DeBoer? I mean, I think a lot of people – hear me out now. I think a lot of people already kind of written Mike Norvell's – I mean, his gravestone's written. They're just waiting for the end date. Like, a lot of people are ready. So I think, all right, you lose this game, whatever. If Alabama were to lose this game, I mean, what's that? 3 losses in your last 4 games since you've been at Alabama going back to last year? 3
losses in your last 4 Power 4 games, yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can make a case for Kalen DeBoer being that answer if they were to lose this game.
It's Mike Norvell, but it's Mike Norvell for one obvious reason. You can't go from being a 13-0, should have been in the college football playoff last year, winning the ACC, and if your quarterback doesn't get hurt, we're talking about you in a completely different story, to 2-10 with embarrassing losses and no answer at quarterback. That's where I think that the pressure's on for Mike Norvell. And Mike Norvell also, he underachieved before he started to get better. He had those 2 lackluster seasons in Tallahassee, and then they went 10-3, and then they went 13-0. So the book is out right now, and in a lot of Florida State fans' eyes, the book is out that he was always kind of an overrated coach that got hot for that small little spark, and now he's back to being the same coach that we knew him as before he got that spark with Jordan Travis. So I think that that's where that's where my thought process is. I agree with you. For Kalen DeBoer, you can't lose this game because they're indoctrinating a brand new quarterback and one that they brought in for the transfer portal. 2 new coordinators, 2 coordinators you could have fired last year that you decided to keep a hold of. You bring in Ryan Grubb. They have questions at the wide receiver position.
Week 1.
They portaled all of these pieces in this offseason again to start swinging because they don't recruit at the same level as you. You're coming off of still a top 3 recruiting class. You still have ample 5-star talent, and the players that you brought in via the portal are really, really supposed to either be niche role players or plug-and-play starters. So, yes, I agree with you. If they were to lose this game, it's a very daunting look and a very hard reality for Alabama fans that your team, as much as we want to hype them up, it's not the same Bama. It's not. But I'm not ready to go ahead and say you're going to be fired because of this game. Mike Norvell, if you get blown out in this game, there will be a lot of people saying now it's just a matter of when, not if, Mike Norvell gets fired in 2020.
But also see a way, even if Florida State loses, he still saves his job somewhere. I don't think Kalen DeBoer is getting fired after this year. It'd just be a bad law. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I mean, worst loss for Alabama is probably 2000, opening it up against UCLA kind of loss. I mean, let's be honest, Bear, talked about this a little bit. I mean, we talked about coordinator continuity. Bam, I mean, Ryan Grubb's in, but I think it's kind of, again, I know I'm talking out of both ends a little bit here, but it's more of a plug and play with the familiarity of the other.
Yeah, sure. And Sheridan knew the offense. It's a similar thing.
With Shepard, Sheridan, and obviously DeBoer. And then you have the whole defensive staff. You have the defensive staff back outside of Hutzler, but you have Cam Womack back. There's coordinator continuity. I mean, Florida State breaking in a new OC in Gus Malzahn, bringing in a new offensive line coach, hiring a new DC, Tony White. I mean, there's a lot.
I will say that was my favorite hire defensively by any team this offseason was Tony White.
Yeah, Syracuse had a good defense. You're right. That's a solid hire. I mean, bringing Thomas Castellanos is the quarterback. This is just this is a game Alabama should win, and the line our buddies at FanDuel have it at 12.5 right now.
Yeah,
it's almost a 2-touchdown
lead. Storylines in this game for me. Let's just start off with Alabama. I mean, it's Ty Simpson. If it is Ty Simpson, let's broaden it up. It's quarterback position because I truly am a believer that the best Robin that Kalen DeBoer will ever have is not a quarterback. It's Ryan Grubb. Like, he can have great quarterbacks like Michael Penix and Jake Haener and Jalen Milroe at times. Ty Simpson could ball on out this year. Austin Mack could be that guy. It's the fact that you have your secondary option that you just trust with your life. You trust with your kids. Like, you go out on a date and you're like, I'm not even going to pick up the phone to check in. I know that's how well it is. That's Ryan Grubb. And the results have spoken about it. Because what he did with Jake Haener, what he did with Michael Penix Jr., what we were able to see from that offense in 2023. And then you get three quarterbacks that I think all fit this system extremely well. And the wide receiver play, I think, is going to be awesome this year. Like, Alabama may have the best and most continuous wide receiver core in college football.
Alabama, outside of quarterback play, probably has the least amount of question marks of anyone in the SEC.
And I think that's what it leads to, is that when you look right now, Alabama is built to win a national title with Kalen DeBoer this year, everywhere except for the most critical position. So can we silence any doubt about the quarterback spot? And maybe it even does, maybe all three have to play in this game for you to kind of get to that level. But do we just silence any concern that, hey, he's playing QB, there's going to be some hiccups. Hey, this is going to be a growing year. This is going to be a year where we know that we have to have a more emphasis on the run game. Because last year, they want to have an emphasis on the run game, but Jalen Milroe was like the main reason for their run game.
This game here, just because Florida State lost some up front, it'll be interesting to see the transition with the DC. I could see them leaning on the run and kind of establishing it. And I know they like to in Ty Simpson's first start. So that'll be interesting. I think they'll just go ground and pound and see if Florida State can stop it. Bear coordinators here, a little battle here. We got former player coach at Gus Malzahn and Kane Womack. Kane Womack played it with a walk-on at Arkansas for Gus. So that's an interesting.
Arkansas or Arkansas State?
Arkansas.
Okay. It's interesting.
What do you think about Thomas Castellanos? You like that?
I know it's going to sound really stupid, but I get the Nick Marshall comparison. Like, I do. He's shifty. He knows how to throw the football. He does a good job of creating second chance opportunities. I think it's all going to come down to how well does Gus trust him enough to run the offense accordingly in game one. Because, again, you can lose this game and still find a way to go 9-3 or 8-4 or even 10-2 and make the college football playoff. Like, there's ways for you to do it, and Thomas Castellanos could break on out in one of those other matchups. Do you trust him enough to kind of open up the kitchen sink in this matchup? I'm very excited to see what Tony White's going to do, because Tony White took three really underwhelming recruiting groups of defensive players at Nebraska, and he punched out back-to-back-to-back years of top 40 defenses. Like, if you can have that with the current status that you have, and there are going to be at least some players, there are going to be some names that we're looking at Florida State and going, NFL player, future Sunday player, all ACC type talent. If he can just get them to kind of play at a continuous basis and put pressure on Ty Simpson or Austin Mack or Keelan Russell, maybe force an incompletion against a Isaiah Horton, or force a turnover with having somebody like a Jeremy Burnham coverage, or you take away the tight end position. That's what's going to be really intriguing for me.
Problem is
Tony
they're
White is
breaking
a
in
really
so many
good
new
quarterback.
guys on the back end, though.
Again, I think that your best bet is probably taking away the passing attack, because if anything, I have questions when it comes to Alabama's rushing group. Not because I have questions with the running back position. I just have questions when it comes to the overall thought of how are we going to run the football? Because how many times last year were we watching Jam Miller and Justice Haynes kind of just be dummy decoys for what was eventually Jalen Milroe, just running off?
Even go back to Washington, they kind of just rode Dylan Johnson. There's not really ever a big group in the Kalen DeBoer, at least in the last few years. I mean, you got to think, too, other side of this, Bear, just a little intangible. Roydell Williams, former Bama back. He's the starting running back at Florida State. Now, I think Florida State offensively with Gus is good. I think Thomas Castellanos is going to have to be really good in the RPO guy. I really do. He's going to have to guess right, push all the right buttons. I think he's going to have to make some improvision plays, like some kind of plays that we'll see, like when you're watching the end of the night on Labor Day weekend of Saturday night, even Sunday night, when they're putting together the first weekend of college football's highlight reel. If Florida State were to win this game, I'm seeing Thomas Castellanos streaking down the freaking field, just like making plays like this, improvising. Like, I think he's going to have to make some of those plays like that.
He's going to have some of the
enough.
He's going to have some of the second half Cam Ward success that we saw last year.
Yeah.
Like at that level of consistency. And that's going to be a thing on Alabama. Like, Alabama can't afford to have like the Lenore Sellers 2.0 when they're up by double digits going into the third quarter, and then they make it a game with South Carolina.
See, Bear, do you like Florida State's receivers out? You're looking at Deuce Robinson from USC, and you got Squirrel White.
Now, Deuce is going to be the number one receiver for them.
Yeah, and I think Squirrel White's just a guy. I don't think he's some elite difference maker.
I wasn't impressed with him when he was in the SEC. I'm not going to be impressed with him.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that will he be at full speed when he comes out week one? Who needs this win more? Not coaches, but just teams, or what does a win do for this team?
Alabama, they're like, it's more of an early establishment. I know, like, from a job standpoint, we said earlier, Mike Norvell's obviously on the hotter seat, but I think from a tone setter of year two, this is usually where big-time coaches make that next step. Bob Stoops, Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, and all their programs they had success at. The big jump was year two. I think this is it. We talked about it, Bear. At least I said it, Bear. I think Kirby Smart agrees, too. I heard him mention something. Alabama has the least amount of question marks outside of the quarterback position. That doesn't mean they're going to win the SEC, even make the college football playoff. I just think that's kind of a truth right now. But quarterback plays bad, that drops down a lot. So, I mean, I think Bama needs this just from a tone setter of how you mentioned earlier, Bear, how you left the 2024 campaign, Kalen DeBoer's first year in Tuscaloosa, with a very sour taste in your mouth where you felt like you stubbed your toe and you should have made a college football playoff down the stretch with your schedule. So I think you have a lot of guys back, a lot of continuity. There's going to be a tone set. I like that line at 12.5. Alabama should win this game, man. I mean, they should. I mean, they really should. Unless Ty Simpson is just bad, then you got issues further down the line anyways.
Yeah, I also agree that Alabama needs to win more. And the reason is because of Florida State. I'm a lot higher on Florida State than most. I look at their schedule, and there's some games that I think are easy toss-ups. Virginia is one. Pitt, I don't know what to make of what's Eli Holstein's going to be this year. Stanford, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, NC State. Like, I could see a scenario where they can punch their way to get to 7-5. And if everything goes according to plan, 8-4. But I don't view them in the same light as I do Georgia Tech. Like, I am very high on Georgia Tech this year as a actual player for the college football playoff. I think Louisville this year could make some noise in the ACC and find their way to Charlotte. Clemson is going to be able to find their way to Charlotte if all things go according to plan. So Alabama, who could be a player for the SEC championship, who could be a player to get that first round bye, who should be in the college football playoff regardless, just simply based off of returning production, the way that their offense is built, and the fewest amount of question marks I have in the SEC. Losing this game kind of throws all of that out the window. All the confidence that I had, all of the upside, all of the things that I've been saying this offseason about, this is the version of Alabama. This is the version of Kalen DeBoer that was promised when he left Seattle to come to Tuscaloosa. All of it's thrown to the wayside if they lose this matchup. So, yeah, Alabama needs this win more. And I think what it does is it kind of gives Kalen DeBoer just a smidge of breathing room to go, look, I get it. I didn't have my guys last year. But can you trust me? Like, we were a 2-touchdown near favorite in this game, and we won by 20. Like, can you get off my back and let me run the program the way I want to run the program? Because I just proved to you that against a team that I'm supposed to beat, I beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, Alabama's the most interesting team to me in the country as you're going to the year, because I think just from a big picture standpoint, from a 35,000-foot view of what this program will be under Kalen DeBoer, it's a big year. And just from a micro view where you're sitting there like, man, dude, I mean, this team has they have some talent. They have one of the better rosters in the league. Just what does the quarterback play look like here? I just keep going back to that. It's if you told me, I always bring up that poll on our show, Coach. Coach, I'll call you Coach Bear. If you could tell me a prediction of one player in college football who to be a maker, what does Ty Simpson do this year? I could probably tell you Bama's season. Barry, here's a question for you. You think Bama's overall schedule is tough?
Yes. I don't think
I'm talking to a buddy who's
as tough.
He didn't think it was, and I lean towards it was.
Okay, I don't think it's as tough as some people make it out to be, but I still think it's tough. I think that Oklahoma will be a much more complete team this year, so that's going to be a tough game, despite it being at home. I think that the fact that you welcome Tennessee with a quarterback that you don't know a lot about with this offense, that maybe changes my opinion of it a little bit.
It's a winnable game, more winnable game.
South Carolina, again, Willie B, I've called it multiple times. It's the ultimate cathedral of chaos.
Bear, I'll say this. South Carolina gets Bama in the perfect spots of the week, but after Tennessee. And
it's also their homecoming game, and they want to impress in front of the hometown crowd. So it's like –
and then you got what's Missouri like? That's kind of like if Missouri's just average, that kind of doesn't increase your schedule, whatnot. Make you said Oklahoma, Vandy, Auburn. Auburn.
We don't know. Like that's the thing, but also keep in mind that game is in Jordan-Hare. So
Opelika High School could suit up and play in the Iron Bowl in the Auburn uniforms. If it's at Jordan-Hare, it'll be a close game. Yeah,
and like that's the other thing. It's just like it's at Jordan-Hare, so it's like weird shit happens there between these two. So that's something that I'm not going to put too much stock in because it is what it is.
Would you agree with this, Bear? Bama's schedule's tough. There's a few swing teams on that schedule that could sway it either to be really tough or just solid schedule.
Oklahoma, Missouri,
Tennessee.
and Auburn and Tennessee. Those four teams. Those will be the ones that will either determine. Alabama had such a daunting schedule that if they were 9-3 at the end of the year, I would consider them maybe as the 12th and final spot in the college football playoff. Versus if you went 9-3 against that, holy crap, why the hell are we even considering you? Like that's where my brain comes to, because those are the four swing teams. But again, you do
keys to the game.
I think setting up the pass. I think having Ryan Williams, Isaiah Horton, Jeremy Bernard, all as just dudes as the difference makers in the passing attack against a secondary that's going to be bringing a lot of young or unknown talent to where there is that continuity for you. Eventually what's going to happen is you're going to have everybody playing back deep, so that way they take away Ryan Williams or Jeremy Bernard, and then you can run the football. And so I think that when you establish that passing attack very early on and kind of go for Tony White's throat and go, hey, we know that you're a great defense coordinator. What you got week one? I think that that's a way to probably control the tempo of this matchup.
I think if Ryan Grubb and then put together a plan where you come out play action right off the bat, because I think Florida State and Tony White would anticipate them running to get their – also, depending what the field position situation is, to get Ty Simpson going. Dude, you hit a play action fake against a lot of new guys in the secondary with Ryan Williams, Isaiah Horton, Jeremy Bernard. And then I think after that, you get ground and pound. You could take this crowd out of it real fast, and they're not going to sit in that sun.
Oh, they could be done by
that sun all day if Alabama's going in there and they're trying to empty it out before the fourth quarter. Not saying that's the case yet. I'm not making that prediction. But, yeah, I think that and how many turnovers – because, again, we know Kane Womack's defense, 4-2-5, they love to force turnovers. How many turnovers – what's the turnover margin in this game? Because I want to see how many turnovers Castellanos has. All right, that will be real interesting to me because I think Ty Simpson's an old enough, mature enough quarterback. I could see maybe him missing some balls deep, second, third level that he may have, that he may start hitting later on in the season that people leave frustrated. But I don't think he's going to turn it over because he's a more mature player. Again, Thomas Castellanos has been playing college football, going back to Boston College and UCF. But I think he is more hero style. And to be fair, I just said it a minute ago, he's going to have to make some of those type of plays too, I think, for them to win this game. But I think that's going to come over with some turnovers. If he has more than 3, or if he has more than 2, I have a very hard time seeing Florida State winning this football game.
I just think that Thomas Castellanos has got to go full Nick Marshall. Like full on, like I'm just throwing things up there for sheer dumb luck and hoping that hits. Like that's the level I think to beat Alabama. Because that also says a lot about how I feel about Alabama, though. I think it doesn't take away from what Florida State could be. I think it just says more about, hey, Alabama, when they're on their bells and whistles, as long as the quarterback play is sufficient, they're one of the 8 best teams in college football this year. That's the way that I feel about them. When you look at the line 12.5, because you and I both agree, Alabama should win this game, like just based off of that. So let's go a step further. Alabama covering the 12.5. Do you buy it?
As of this moment?
As of this moment.
I think so. I mean, the more you talk about it, the more you dig deeper in on Florida State. Again, we talked about it in the Texas-Ohio State matchup, the continuity at the coordinator spots. Again, it is a new guy in Ryan Grubb, but still that key foundation piece is there. You're just adding an extra score to a basketball analogy from standpoint. So I think that'd be fun. Much more than Gus Malzahn, Herb Hand, a new offensive line coach coming in. We mentioned Tony White. A lot of new faces that you brought in the portal about Florida State, Bear. A lot of new faces in that locker room. I don't know, first game. I'm with you. I think Florida State has like about 5 to 6 very winnable conference games outside of Clemson and Miami, and they get Miami at home. So I think they could easily get to 6-7 wins, like you said. I just think it's going to come on maybe later, midway point of the season towards the end. It'll be interesting to see what the challenge is for Florida down at the very last game of the year. But I think this early in the season, I don't really care where this game is. Alabama should handle business. I think they should, and they will.
I won't take a lot of time. I think Alabama wins this game by at least 14 points. I think that Alabama has backups playing in the fourth quarter. I think that Alabama is
Campbell's emptied out to start the fourth, Bear.
Listen, I want to see Keelan Russell play. I want to see what some of these other young wide receivers can do playing. And I want to see some of these young secondary members play. So I think that Kalen DeBoer wants to see it too. So he's going to have full belt to ass early on in this matchup to tell everybody, hey, this is the version of Bama that you envisioned when I came here. Let me go ahead and prove to you why I was the right hire. So I think they win by at least 14.
Listen, you don't only get belt to ass reference, people, when you listen to SEC Unfiltered Baseball with Chris Phillips. I know a lot of people dislike it. Yeah, hey, get in here if you're in support of hashtag belt to ass. We'll get T-shirts made.
I'll get T-shirts made. Do you want to go to Oklahoma's schedule, or do you want to go to the BK Arch Manning thing?
We can go BK Arch Manning. What do you think, Bear?
This was a really interesting comment because of most people, I think, would agree that Arch Manning has all the potential to be the best quarterback in the SEC, if not the best quarterback in college football. I think most would agree. But you read a headline, and then the headline kind of gets taken out of miscontext, and then you have to go back in and actually read the story. So Brian Kelly was on the College Football Game Day podcast on ESPN, and he was talking about the quarterback position just in general in the SEC and how Arch Manning is going into year one and what he has meant to the state of Louisiana. But meanwhile, we got this Garrett Nussmeier kid whose dad was a coach at LSU, who was a coach throughout his entirety of life when he grew up in Louisiana. He also is now the offense coordinator for the New Orleans Saints, and he played last year. And so BK, doing what most people would do in this situation, defended his quarterback. Look, we hear it every day because Manning is from Louisiana. And listen, there's another guy that hears it all the time, and that's Garrett Nussmeier. He's committed, and more than anything else, he's experienced. And in this league, you need to see the experience fly. You need to see the experience flying. Now, Manning is extremely talented, but he's got to do it. And there's going to be a couple of days where it doesn't come out the way it's supposed to. How do you bounce back? How do you come back from that? How does it work? What is your next week's game plan? So there's a lot of things out there. I can see the assessment of Manning. He's an outstanding player, but I take the guy that's been in the SEC and what it looks like. I don't hate what he said. I don't. And it doesn't have to be Garrett Nussmeier. But just in general, you give me a guy that has 2 years of starting experience or 2 years of reps, live reps in the SEC under his belt, I'm taking him over any upside player right now. Just like you.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, he's sticking up for his quarterback to some extent. Again, I think he is. I mean, he was just kind of honest. He even admitted, he's like, it's free. Manning's from Louisiana. Like, I mean, he hears it. I mean, from New Orleans. Like, so, I mean, again, Garrett Nussmeier's played a lot more football in this conference heading into this season than Arch Manning. Again, he gave him his flowers. I mean, as the kids say these days, he gave him his flowers, said really talented, high upside, but there's going to be a learning curve in this league, and he's 100% right. I'm with you. There's nothing he said that was wrong. I think he was just backing his guy, being honest about Arch Manning.
The thing that I really stand behind is environment and being able to understand the situation of the moment. That's something that Garrett Nussmeier can say he's done. Now, it doesn't always end in triumph. Sometimes it ends with a loss, and sometimes it ends with an embarrassing performance, but he's been in that situation before. You need a must-score drive in the fourth quarter against Ole Miss to save your season and stay alive in the college football playoff hunt. It was a 4th and 5 call, and the boldness of the offense of Joe Sloan to go verts to Aaron Anderson, the ice in his veins, understanding what that moment was like. Him setting the tone early on in that game against Texas A&M at Kyle Field, where he found Aaron Anderson and they were off to the races. And that 101,000 crew got silent. Like, he knows what that environment's like. To where Arch doesn't know what that is just entirely yet. Like, he understands that, yeah, there's certain games that you got to play in and you got to actually step on up. But, like, he's never been to Florida to play in the swamp. He's never been to Samford to play against Georgia. And a lot of the teams that he played a lot of his reps against were either at home or against inferior competition. So that's where I also lean just a little bit more in favor of Garrett Nussmeier, or like any quarterback for that matter. The fact that they've been able to understand, we got to convert on this third down. We got to be, and by the way, our backs are against the wall. We're going into the belly of the beast that is 89,000 screaming Gamecocks fans. Like Garrett's done that. Lenore's always done that.
What are we saying about Arch Manning at the end of the year?
A very solid first year to where Texas was more than just him and they still made the college football playoff. That's what I personally think.
You think they're winning games because of him?
There will be 1 or 2 games they win because of Arch Manning. 100%, I believe that. But not every game is going to come down to Arch. I think every game right now. Okay, if you were to ask me like the pressure level of every quarterback that could make a run to the college football playoff, Arch is near the bottom in terms of the actual pressure because of I have so much faith in the rest of Texas roster. But not because, like, the pressure for him is the external noise, the having to live up to the Manning name, having to be in the system for 3 years, having to prove that he is as advertised. Like that's the pressure he faces. There are going to be games where Garrett Nussmeier has got to deliver. Lenore Sellers has got to give his all and then some. DJ Lagway, he is going to have to do it all. John Mateer, he's going to have to be everything. There are going to be games where they are X, Y, and Z of the entirety of the offense. And if they're not winning. That's the difference, I think, between Arch and everyone else.
See, I think I'm on the opposite side of that on that one with you, Bear. I think early in the season, I could see them struggling to some extent offensively because you're replacing 4 starters on the offensive line and your top 3 guys in the receiver spot, your best tight end. Again, I'm hoping CJ Baxter comes back from injury. He's one of my breakout guys, but Trey Wisner needs some help. And Trey Wisner is, I think, in a perfect world, an RB2 kind of guy. It struggles to make people miss after about 3 to 4 yards. I mean, I don't know. I think he's going to need some help. I think me and you are a little opposite on that. I think I don't have as much confidence, especially early in the year when you're replacing that much on offense.
Right, but I don't think that's up to Arch though. I think that's the difference. I think that when it comes to like for Garrett Nussmeier, there are going to be games where he may have all the help in the world. He's always going to have to be the X factor in that game. I think that's where the difference is. Like, yeah, there's definitely questions when it comes to the roster, but I've also told you, like, I feel more balanced and more overall relaxed when it comes to the identity of what Texas is offensively this year, even though they are losing a lot. Like, I just have that trust factor in Steve Sarkisian to where I think he's going to be able to get the best version out of every single person that lines up on the field.
Bear, this year, how would you feel about Texas if they had Oklahoma's schedule?
9-3.
There's a world with that schedule they missed the playoffs.
There's a world. Yeah. I would so I feel a lot, but like I feel better about them playing in the Michigan game than what they would with the Ohio State game. So like cross that one off. I feel better about them playing at Missouri versus playing at Georgia. But then you would play Ole Miss. We don't know what Ole Miss is going to be. You would have to play in Alabama. You don't know what version of Alabama is going to be.
LSU comes to town.
You have LSU. Yeah, you got to go to Tennessee. Like, there are so many more games on that schedule to where if everything goes according to plan, yeah, things can go south. But, like, I personally believe that Arch does not have to be the hero in almost any game. Where I think that you are going to see Lenore Sellers. There will be games where if he is even a smidge South Carolina has no shot. And that shouldn't be the case, but like that's how I feel right now.
No, yeah, I definitely feel more comfortable in the overall roster at Texas and like South Carolina if you're just comparing that for sure. Yeah, I think Lenore Sellers has to put on more of the Superman cape than Arch does. I just think early in the year there could be some hiccups just with losing that much. It'll be interesting. But again, I go back, the schedule is not very difficult. So I don't know. I'm interested. I really am interested in the Texas offense. I think they'll be solid. It's just, now we're comparing them to a championship level. That's kind of the standards
Again, I still think Texas will have one of the best, if not the best defense in the SEC. I believe that they will have.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about the defense as I am the offense, at least.
I think that they will have a breakout tight end in Jack Endries. I think they'll have a good run game. I think they'll have a very good run game. The offensive line, yes, I will agree with you on. But they also, along with Alabama, may have the fewest questions for me going into this year. And it's more so based off of the traits of what I've seen from the coaching of Steve Sarkisian, not from the actual on-field play. Because, yeah, you're going to have questions when it comes to replacing 3 wide receivers, your top tight end, and 4 of your offensive linemen. Like, you're going to have questions when it comes to that. Everyone's going to have questions when it comes to that.
No, I agree with you.
What was the top 25 thing that you want to talk about? I remember you brought this up.
Well, we can go over that on Monday.
Okay. Oklahoma schedule. We'll do that, and then we'll get on out of here. All right. So, Oklahoma, last year, 6-7. Replaced almost everybody. They do have a new quarterback in John Mateer. They have a brand new offense coordinator in Ben Arbuckle. They have some very good up-and-coming pieces, whether it be David Stone, who re-signed an NIL deal, or they're bringing in Giovanni Gibson or Jaden Ott from Cal. There's a lot to like about Oklahoma on paper as a solid team. And then you remember that they have one of the most daunting schedules in college football. Illinois State to begin the season. Then they play versus Michigan in week 2 at Temple, September 13th. Then they go play versus Auburn. Then you go play against Kent State versus Texas in the Red River Shootout, at South Carolina versus Ole Miss, at Tennessee. It doesn't get any easier, at Alabama versus Missouri. And you close out the year with LSU coming to town. What do you think about this schedule when it comes to what is the most winnable conference game?
It'll be interesting to see what's going on with Oklahoma at that time. Obviously, if they have momentum behind them, and it's obviously looking like Brent Venables is back in 26, I think it's Missouri at home on November 22nd. It's the most winnable conference game. Again, tough schedule. There's not a lot of there you go, Kentucky at home.
Part of me says it doesn't feel like I should be saying it, but it also does. It's for me, it's Auburn, and Auburn is because of. I don't know what to make of Jackson Arnold at this point. Is that going to be the game where Jackson Arnold breaks on out? Is that going to be the game where Jackson Arnold is a solid game manager? Is that the game where they turn to Deuce Knight? And it's like similar to what we saw with South Carolina versus Oklahoma, where they were down early, they turned to another quarterback, they go to Jackson Arnold, and they knew it was over, but they're like, okay, well, this is what we figure out. I just feel like that, again, if anybody knows what to do against that quarterback, it's going to be BV. Because the BV has been scheduling defenses against him in practice for literally the last 2 years.
So you got Auburn, huh?
I think Auburn. I just have this.
You're a little hotter on Missouri than I am going into the year right now. I think that's why.
I will say Missouri was number 2. Missouri was far and away number 2.
Again, it's such a difficult schedule again.
Is Vanderbilt on the schedule? Am I missing them?
No, they're not on it.
Okay, for some reason I thought I was missing them. The most exciting game of the year.
Most exciting game of the year for the Oklahoma Sooners.
And I would just take out Red River Shootout because that feels unfair.
I'm gonna go out of conference here, man. I'm gonna go Michigan coming to town to Memorial. I think it could be a Bryce Underwood first start. I think it's a massive year for Brent Venables. You lose this game, especially if it was to a true freshman in his first road game. Michigan's got a new OC in Chip Lindsey. I think it's a game Oklahoma should win. It's a tone setter to the season, similar to how I brought up the Alabama setting the tone against Florida State this year to kind of go on a run to compete for the SEC and make the college football playoff. I think the same for Oklahoma. If they're going to go turn their 6-7 season around to maybe a 9-10 win season, certainly a 10-win season, and compete for a college football playoff spot, I have a hard time seeing them do that if they lose to Michigan in week 2 with the rest of the schedule. So I think it's setting the tone at home against a big brand, a solid football team, but a team, especially if they're starting a true freshman, I don't care who it is, with a new OC in your house, you should win that game. I'm excited to see Oklahoma in week 2.
I don't want to go ahead and pick this way because of it. We're picking the same, but it's Michigan. Like Michigan to me is the most exciting game because of I think it's a crossroad games for both these programs. Like I really do. I could see a scenario where if Oklahoma wins this matchup, they go on a tirade run. They build that confidence. They put themselves in a prime position to execute, now have an identity, and then they rattle off wins against Auburn and Texas, and then they beat Ole Miss, and then they lose at South Carolina, but they beat Tennessee, and they make it close against Alabama, and they play well against LSU, and then they're 10-2, and they're in the playoff. But I also see this world where Michigan wins this game, Michigan does the exact same thing, and now they're 10-2 and go to the college football playoff, and Oklahoma, they start losing their spark. They have questions and they're second guessing themselves at wide receiver or at the defensive line or at the offensive execution with the play calling and Ben Arbuckle and John Materis. He's starting to feel flustered against quality Power 4 competition. So it's just like, I think to me, it's such a crossroads game to where whatever happens in this matchup gives me a better understanding about who Oklahoma is. That's where I have a question
for you. For Oklahoma to make the college football playoff, do they have to be undefeated going into Red River against Texas?
Do they have to what?
Be undefeated going into Red River versus Texas.
They don't have to be undefeated, but I do think that they can only lose one game. So if they lose to Michigan, they got to be.
They have to be undefeated.
I don't think they do.
I think if you lose to Michigan or Auburn at home, you're probably not a college football playoff team. And again, this is coming from somebody. I think Auburn's going to be. This is about as talented as Auburn's been since 19 or 20. I mean, it's not saying a lot. I mean, this is a program we're talking about. And Auburn's had 4 straight losing seasons. It's not saying a lot. I think they'll be improved though. But still, I think if Oklahoma if we're just saying they're a college football playoff team, caliber team, I would think that's a game you probably win, to your point, against a quarterback you're very familiar with in your house. And I mentioned why the Michigan game already. So I think you need to be undefeated. God, good Lord, please tell me you don't lose to Illinois State. Simple. That replaces that game. Oklahoma traveling to the Link to play at Temple it replaces.
I'm very excited.
Missouri going to UMass last year.
Yeah, it's the exact level. It's the exact same. No, here's the reason why I don't think it's a must win, or why you got to be undefeated, because we don't know a lot about 3 teams still on the schedule: Ole Miss, Tennessee, Missouri. We don't.
No, so I'm not high on Tennessee really right now.
So if you were to beat Texas, so let's say you beat Texas, but and again, I said you can lose one game, so it doesn't matter if you beat Michigan or you beat Auburn, but you lose the other one. So let's say you lose one game, but you beat Texas. Let's say you lose South Carolina. What if Ole Miss isn't as advertised? What if Tennessee isn't as advertised? What if Alabama has its struggles? It's a game to where John Materis.
Again, I think you could say this about every team's schedule. I mentioned that Alabama's because we said Missouri, Tennessee. Hell, I'll even throw South Carolina in that. Again, I think it's a good spot for South Carolina the week after Bama plays Tennessee at home. But who knows? What if South Carolina is just 6-6, 7-5? What if that's not a very tough game? It's like as we think. Again, I think you got that on everybody's schedule outside of maybe Texas's.
Right, but for me, it's just when I look at that, I'm like, there's a scenario where they can lose one game after that, and they'll still be able to hold their own. Because again, I don't see that much of a drop off between Tennessee versus Ole Miss or Ole Miss versus Missouri. Like all of them are in that same bubble of tier type talent. So that's where I'm kind of at with it. And then again, if you beat Auburn, but you lose to Michigan, it's a non-conference loss, which doesn't affect you to potentially make it to Atlanta. So that's another thing that kind of plays into a factor with it. But they can't lose more than one. They can't lose to Auburn and they can't lose to Michigan and then not make the college football playoff. No, I agree with you on that. 3 must-win games.
Michigan, I made that one pretty clear. I'm going to go Michigan.
You're caught, aren't you?
I think Auburn. Again, you can tell I'm pretty high. I'm kind of banging the drum. They got to be undefeated going into Red River. So, and then I'm going to go I'm gonna go Ole Miss at home. You got to protect the house. For you to go in a college football playoff run or even just get to 8-9 wins, you got to protect the house. You can make a case for a lot of the third one for me, but I think the no-brainer again. But again, it's how you look at their schedule. I think Michigan. If you don't have Michigan on there, you're crazy. I think I just lean Auburn because it's the first SEC game. You got to set the tone again at home, protect the house, and I just went Ole Miss. It's another home game. You can make a case for LSU too.
Michigan, Ole Miss, at Tennessee. I think the at Tennessee one is really important because of the fact that you added in so much offensively to change what you were last year that you kind of owe to this defense. Because that defense did its job, I think, for 3.5 quarters. They allowed it to be a one possession game to where it felt like that if Oklahoma got any bit of juice, any bit of spark, they may be able to pull off that victory.
Barry, so you know why I like this pick by you? The road one?
Why?
If we're talking here is like a potential special season for Oklahoma, when has anyone ever had a successful season and didn't have some big road win?
Yeah. No, to me, again,
I like the pick.
To me, it all comes down to the fact that you going on the road, you playing against a team that you know that last season had its offensive insecurities. You were just awful, horrendous offensively, but you got to bail out your defense for a little bit. So to me, that's a revenge factor more than anything else. And then the Ole Miss thing is that Ole Miss I have so many questions when it comes to their offense, both good and bad. Like, honestly, I could see Lane Kiffin having one of the top 5 scoring offenses in college football. I could also see them absolutely having one of the worst identities because of nobody establishes themselves as the number 1 wide receiver. Nobody puts themselves in a position to where they can be complete with the running game. Austin Simmons is not as advertised. So you should be able to handle business against them. And then Michigan, because of you need to win at least the non-con game. That's it for me. Ceiling for this team.
Ceilings, all things clicking. I mean, let's be honest. This was, I know it was their first year in the SEC, but I couldn't remember an SEC team having as bad of injury luck as they had last year, especially on offense and even sprinkled around the defense a little bit. So I think that their luck there on that end will change a little bit. I would hope so this year. That'd be terrible luck back-to-back years. But again, I know we mentioned the schedule, but again, a lot of teams have teams that swing either way. I think Oklahoma's got a lot of those more so than most. So I still think it's going to be a tougher schedule than some. Maybe not as daunting as we think going in, but I still think it'll be more challenging than most. I'm going to go if it's everything's clicking. They have a really good year like Missouri had 2 years ago when they had the injury luck they had. They have enough talent to go 10-2. 10-2. Maybe if I'm in a bad mood, I'd go 9-3, but not any higher than 10-2 certainly. But I mean, I think that's everything breaking your way. You'd be fired up about that ceiling there.
10-2 is the ceiling. Because the kids, again, if you think that they could beat Texas, you definitely think they could beat Michigan. You definitely think that they could beat LSU. You definitely think that they could beat Alabama. So, that's where my brain goes. If you think that they could, and I get it, Red River Shootout, it's one of the most exciting games. It's one of the best rivalries, one of the best environments in college football. But if you think that you can win that game against Texas, you should feel confident in every single matchup. You're going to lose a game. I don't see a world anymore where you will have an undefeated national champion. I don't see that happening.
Too many. There's extra games now.
And that's the thing is that there's so many extra. And Oregon was the one that went undefeated, and they lost their first playoff game. So it's like they lost a game. I think that you're going to drop a matchup, but I just feel like as much as I like what I've seen from all these other teams, I like Oklahoma because of how much they have that juice, the continuity of having Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer on the same wavelength, the fact that they have a running back that fits their system so well. 10-2 absolutely makes a lot of sense. I lean 10-2 as the ceiling. Now the floor is a little bit different. Floor, I got 6-6. Still a bowl team, still going to some type of matchup. But 6-6 is not the standard in Norman. It will never be the normal in Norman. That's a fireable offense for Brent Venables. If everything goes south, you don't have a good quarterback play. You don't have a great defense, which is your backbone, and you allow too many games to get out of reach. But still 6-6 is the floor for me.
I'm going to go just because we all know in a hot seat year, which Brent Venables joins a couple of SEC coaches after no one getting fired from the SEC last year. I think in a year like that, if it gets off the rail quickly, I think with a floor in seasons like this, you got to add an extra loss. I'll go 5-7 if it really. I mean, what if you lose to Michigan and Auburn in those first 4 games? I mean, again, in today's era, I don't think they're going to be 5-7, folks. So anybody who goes and tries to clip me, I don't even think that. I think they're closer to kind of an 8-9 win type of team, if you want me to be completely honest. I just think if it did get off the rails, injury luck, just whatever's just not clicking this year, yeah, I think by November you could have some guys checking out and kind of getting their reservations to go to their next school. So, I mean, it's one of those things. I don't know. In a hot seat kind of year, you never know if it got real bad. 5-7, I don't think it's going to be that at all. I'm pretty confident in that.
I think
I'm going to go for one more extra loss just because of what type of year it could be for Brett Notables.
I think it's 7-5 at the worst, personally. But if there were to be one, 6-6, just because of, let's just say John Mateer is a bad game. Just like throw that in the fire just because of it. Because last year also, I think that you should have seen Missouri. I think you should have seen Oklahoma go 7-5. Like personally. They should have never lost the Missouri game. That's just the way I think.
Auburn.
They never should have lost that
game. Sorry, they won that game. Auburn should not have lost that one. So kind of
if anything, they should have lost the Auburn game and beat Missouri. But again, careless plays, the way it happened, it just south fast. All right, that's Oklahoma. We will be back here on Monday to recap a bunch of other things around the SEC. We will talk about what we saw on Saturday night between Arkansas and LSU. Remember, Dave's picking Arkansas. I'm picking LSU to win the national title in baseball. Make sure you have a good start to your week. Make sure that you enjoy your rest of your weekend. Like, review, hit subscribe. Follow us on the social channels. Make sure you tune back in tomorrow because Dave and Harrison will be on. Chris and Harrison, they'll be on the channel. For Dave Shumate, I'm Cole Thompson. We will see you on Monday on the Overtime Drive. And remember, you only live life once, so why not live it to the fullest? Bye.